Hello and welcome to GreenFleet Talks. I'm Gill Nowell, founder of Hosted by Gill and Global Women in EV Day and co-founding director of EVA England, and I am delighted to be your host today. Today's episode is supported by Geotab, and I'm so pleased to be joined by Fabian Seithal, Associate Vice President for Sales and Business Development EMEA at Geotab. In this episode, we're focusing on commercial vehicle decarbonisation, and in particular, the challenges and opportunities facing vans and also heavy goods vehicles as fleets move toward zero emissions. Before we dive into the detail, it's worth noting that while the UK has now surpassed 1,000 zero-emission truck registrations, they still represent just over 1% of new HGV sales, so we have a way to go. There's clearly momentum, but there's also some significant barriers. So, Fabian, let's start with heavy goods vehicles then. As we've seen, the UK has just surpassed the milestone of 1,000 new zero-emission truck registrations. But from your perspective at Geotab, why is decarbonising the heavy goods vehicle sector proving perhaps so much more challenging than other vehicle types?
Yeah, hey Jill, first of all, thanks a lot for having me today. Big pleasure. And I think you started right into the topic. I mean, overall, if we compare against vans and cars, decarbonizing HGVs is just more difficult. Heavier payloads, more demanding duty cycles, far more variable range requirements. If we look at the last mile sector, decarbonizing that part of the delivery chain is just easier to plan, easier from an operational perspective. Yeah, a local delivery van in comparison has a more predictable route. Simply a long haul HGV doesn't. And let's say if you look at the van sector, total cost of ownership, let's say you break even when electrifying, when you do it smart. On the HGV side today, and we speak with quite a few fleets, it's an investment into the future. You're paying an upfront premium for a zero emission truck, and again, today it's an investment into the future, and that as well connects to the charging infrastructure side. It's less and less a bottleneck on the van and car side, and probably the most acute bottleneck on the HGV side. We're seeing quite a bit of investment into it, but it's just not where ideally it should be. So again, that the total cost of ownership and the easiness of operating an HGV fleet is as easy as a van and car fleet. From a Geotab perspective, we've run a study on battery longevity, and so that's a positive item because clearly a truck is an investment into the future, but battery degradation is just about 2.3% per year based on our study. And when you look at the, let's say, lifespan of a heavy duty truck, easy 7 to 10 years, let's say, basically that tells they can do the job as well, like the battery can do the job in that time from now. So it's a bit of a, let's call it, nuanced picture, but it's not HGVs can't go electric. Let's say there is ways how to operate them in a very smart manner, and we see many fleets are taking the investment, and the 1,000 vehicle milestone is a great number, a great achievement. But we're working with our customers so that it's really profitable, and so that the numbers can really scale as they scale in the van and car sector.
Thanks, Fabian. So it's relatively early days, isn't it, for the electrification of EHGV, but we're at the beginning. And it's going to be a really interesting journey, I feel. And heavy goods vehicles clearly present some unique challenges, but vans are also a critical part of the commercial fleet landscape. And while zero emission van adoption is growing, the pace perhaps is still slower than many expected. So from the perspective of the fleets, of the van fleets you work with at Geotab, what are the biggest challenges that those van operators face as they move towards zero tailpipe emission vehicles?
Yeah, thanks. Thanks for the question. And maybe first to the first point of the previous question. So yes, we're in the pioneering mode, and the fleets that put down the investment today on the HGV side are we're sure get the dividends paid in the future, as you make so many, let's say with our data, you make so many observations that can be very powerful. So now going to the van side and the unique challenges there. I mean, vans can as well be quite heterogeneous. So you can have a bunch of vehicles doing totally different duty cycles and different payloads and requirements than another bunch does. And if I look at the UK, whether I let's say deliver, for instance, parcels in an urban area, maybe in London, or whether I'm in the countryside, just 100 miles away from the cities, poses very different requirements towards that fleet. I mean, when we look at commercial vehicles, particular home charging access is a genuine issue. Let's say a significant portion of van drivers don't have driveways where they would charge their vehicles, so you would need to have basically charging infrastructure at the depot to have let's say to cater for that problem. If we look maybe at small medium enterprises, there is upfront cost. There is an EV premium that hits. We think on the long run, and we see that from our customer base, that operating electric vehicles at scale can come with a nice return of investment. So you can do good, be sustainable, and save money at the same time, which is like the win-win scenario you'd be looking for. We've done a big study with a postal operator, bpost, and that operate 10,000 vehicles with our technology equipped, and basically turned out EVs are 9% cheaper over their lifespan compared to an internal combustion engine. Maintenance clearly being much cheaper. Looking at the current fuel pricing, electricity can be much cheaper. So there is a clear return of invest there. And if we look at our very own take and charge report, if we look at the UK specifically, we found a saving of £7,300 per EV suitable, let's say for every EV be replaced over 7 years, and that's, let's say, a significant amount of money that can be saved. And maybe one additional item: range anxiety. I myself drive an EV. Let's say it took me some convincing within the family. Hey, we're moving to EVs, so it's let's say, call it a prominent item. But let's say data shows, if we look at the UK specifically, 66%, 2/3 of vehicles are easily suitable for EV replacement with no government incentive at all. So let's say are shown a positive return of an invest. And yeah, the average UK fleet drives just 58 miles a day. So range anxiety, well, we need to take it serious, and often can be let's say unfolded with the right data. And last but not least, there's quite a bit of regulatory maybe call it pressure, clean air zones, zero EV mandate, low emission zones expanding across the country. So it's that adds an additional urgency to the entire perspective. And from our perspective, from a Geotab side, it's always good starting with data. Data are objective and they provide a neutral basis, a neutral ground for the discussion where does EV replacement make sense, and to be honest, where doesn't it make any sense, and where is an ICE vehicle still the best choice today.
Thanks, Fabian. And you mentioned data there, which is a lovely segue into my next question for you. I think one of the advantages that we have today compared with the early days of electrification is that fleets now have far more data available to guide decisions. And that brings us to the role of technology. Geotab works very closely with fleets on telematics, data insights, and operational optimization. So in your view, how can technology help fleets to overcome some of the barriers to zero emission commercial vehicles that you've already spoken about?
Yeah, thanks a lot. And great segue from the previous question. So our claim to fame from a Geotab perspective is basically you can't manage what you don't measure. And looking at EV transition, but let's say all other items in fleet, let's say, without having the right underlying data, it's very difficult to manage change. Let's say, wouldn't be a cool session if I don't mention AI a single time here, but let's say often the challenge has been I have access to a lot of data, but how do I actually use it in a smart fashion? And artificial intelligence comes really handy in, let's say, really showing where are the sweet spots and where can I take action the easiest. One example, so we have a tool we call the Geotab EV suitability assessment. So we basically take real-time telematics data from existing vehicles and models and pose the question, if there would be a procurement choice today, if that vehicle is, let's say, at the end of the duty cycle and it would need to be replaced, can an EV do the job? And can it do the job, let's say, at a lower cost, basically? And so just one example, we've been working with the Circe in the UK and Ireland, and they used it to model a potential of 450,000 euros in that case of a saving potential from expanding their EV fleet. And that's, let's say, real-time data that really shows that can be very, very powerful. Milk and More, another customer, used our tech for coaching, basically. So let's say whoever drives an EV himself herself knows that can be fun vehicles to drive from an acceleration, from a power perspective. And Milk and More in the UK use Geotab to basically ensure an efficient way of driving EVs, leading to a 19% increase in EV range. And basically the same driver behavior principles that reduce fuel consumption equally apply for electric ones, maybe even with a bit of a higher factor. And that not only leads to, let's say, a better operational way of better way of operating the EVs, but as well to a significant cost saving, in this case, 1.8 million liters of diesel and 4.9 tons of CO2, 4,920 tons, of CO2 saved per year. So yeah, technology is really at the forefront. AI is really at the forefront. And we really try and help fleets by adopting AI technology to make their life easy. Just one additional feature I do want to point out. So many of us are using the likes of ChatGPT, Gemini, and we embedded that into our system with a feature we call Geotab Ace. So reporting has always been a little bit of a tricky piece. Maybe you needed a colleague in order to get the right data. And now you can basically talk to your fleet and, hey, how much kilowatt hours did my fleet consume last week, and you would get it basically as you're used. You would get a response as you're used to it from like the classic AI tools you would be using.
Thanks, Fabian. I think it's absolutely fascinating, everything that you've been talking about just there, particularly around the driver behaviour and educating the drivers on how to drive more efficiently. Because of course, one of the differences when you switch from an internal combustion engine to a battery electric vehicle is the regenerative braking. And understanding how to optimize that, as well as just not putting your foot down all the time, and the savings that you can accrue there in terms of, better performance in terms of range, really remarkable. And of course, electrifying vehicles is only one part of the broader transition. Many fleets are now looking at a wider set of strategies to reduce emissions across their operations. So beyond simply switching vehicles, what other strategies should fleets be considering as part of a really holistic decarbonisation approach?
Yeah, very good question. And maybe first, why is it worth looking at it? As a rule of thumb, decarbonization as well often yields to cost savings once done efficiently. So it's not only a powertrain question, it's not an ICE, hybrid, or EV question. A fleet can materially save cost and reduce its carbon footprint, decarbonify before switching a vehicle to electric. Talking about route optimization, talking about driver behavior coaching, eliminating unnecessary idling. So there's many ways in our tool how we help drivers, coach drivers to be better and safer drivers on the road, and that in itself leads to the reduction of the carbon footprint. For instance, looking at United Utilities in the UK, they achieved a 35% improvement in fuel economy, 26% reduction in emissions per vehicle through our technology, and that's a really nice success story before EVs were even in place, so to say. And if we look at driver behavior specifically, same platform that monitors combustion vehicle behavior, harsh braking, idling, speeding, etc., that translates into EV range management. So if we look back to the Milk and More 19% range improvement, is a very similar type of approach. How once you already, let's say, electrified, how you can apply that on the EV side. And our advanced routing piece is really helping fleets to be more efficient. To be very honest, you save the most emissions for a vehicle that you maybe don't even need, and you save the most cost for that particular. So improving the routes and being efficient on the routing side can as well lead to let's say optimized cost and to an optimized decarbonizing strategy. The Belgian Post, again, they saved 3% in their vehicles. So they basically came to the conclusion we can do the exact same job with 3% less vehicles just by being more efficient. One additional point I wanted to mention is our Geotab Vitality joint venture. So when looking to decarbonify, when let's say looking to improve driver behavior, it's important to take the drivers by the hand, and we're doing that by applying behavioral science and incentive design. So it's basically a cool app. I use it myself, where if you're having a good driving, you get a bonification. Your next coffee is basically for free. You can basically reimburse it with via the app. And let's say similar to other apps, you want to be on a streak, and it's quite cool. But it's just one way to keep drivers let's say basically sold to it. And additionally, I mean, we see that across the delivery space, micro hubs, alternative mobility, bikes, etc. So data can really help you to show, hey, maybe in which area, what model of delivery makes sense. If you can jump from a small van to a bike, save cost, and let's say do good for the environment. That's a cool win-win scenario. And ultimately, from a Geotab perspective, we believe having the right data and the right tools in place really enable the journey to decarbonify and really allow for objective decisions based on the right facts. And let's say we see the fleets making the most progress are combining technology and behavioral change, infrastructure planning, and looking at the regulations in place and to come, and not waiting, let's say, for the single silver bullet, so to say.
Fabian, that has been so insightful. Thank you so much for joining me today. You've shared really valuable perspectives on both the challenges and the opportunities facing commercial fleets, and it's really clear that data and technology will play, and actually are playing, a critical role in helping organisations to navigate the transition to zero tailpipe emission vehicles. For our listeners, today's discussion highlights that decarbonising commercial fleets is about far more than simply changing vehicles. It's about using data, planning infrastructure, and it's about rethinking operations. Thank you to everyone listening. If you found today's discussion useful, do keep an eye out for future episodes of GreenFleet Talks, where we'll continue exploring the people and the innovations shaping the future of fleet decarbonisation. Until next time, thank you for joining us.